All right, welcome to day number 10 of my Monster a Day challenge. Can't believe that we're almost a third of the way through the month. So, yeah, things are going pretty quickly. So, hopefully, you've been enjoying the monsters and hopefully, you've been following along and making your own. And I'd love to see your monsters. So, if you want to share the ones that you've created in the comments, that'd be awesome. Or if you want to tag me on social media, that would be great as well. So today I'm going to do another painting. I've been really enjoying the painted background and then doing the drawing on top of it. So I think I'm going to again do that again today, but I'm going to use a different color scheme, maybe one that I haven't used much. So we'll go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and dive in, and let me switch it over so that we can actually take a look at what I'm doing. All right, so I've got my 6 by 8 inch Strathmore mixed media paper. This is the 400 series paper. I've got some paint brushes, and then I've got the Derwent Inktense paints. I'm thinking that I want to use kind of a reddish, maybe an orange kind of color scheme today, and then I've got some pens over here as well. But let's go ahead and get into the painting. And just like I've done before, let me slide my water over a little bit closer. So yeah, I want to use kind of these oranges and reds. And then there's a yellowish orange here I want to use. Just kind of scrub this down. And then got a couple different reds. This one is a bit more of a warm red. Let's put some more of that yellow orange in there. And then I've got another red over here that's just a little bit of a more of a cooler red. So just gonna, yeah, just those colors are really gonna kind of go well together. I think, let's see, put a little bit more of that in there. Ooh, I like how bright that is. Let's get some more of that in there. Let's go ahead and I want to even this out just a little bit. And we'll dry it. All right. So let's see. I think I want to turn to a smaller brush. Just get a little bit more texture in there. Really liking that yellow-orange in there. Seems like it's showing up a little bit brighter on the video. It's not quite that intense in real life, but that's alright. Okay. And we'll hit that with the dryer. Okay, it's a little bit curled, so let me go ahead and hit it from the back. Alright, I'm going to do one more thing to add some texture. I'm going to use something a little bit different than I have before. Yesterday I used something that I call Punchinella. Today I'm going to use this plastic mesh. And this is plastic canvas, and you can usually you buy it and you can stitch yarn through it. And my grandmother used to use it all the time, make all kind of stuff. But I'm going to use it as a stencil, and it's one of my favorite ways. And just like the Punchinella, I'm not going to try to fill in every single hole, and it'll bleed. The paint will kind of run underneath the plastic and kind of collect and pool, but I don't mind that. It's actually one of the reasons that I use it, is so that it can kind of that unpredictability. I really like that, and it just kind of gives you a bit of a grid texture. So these are all techniques that I have used for years in my journal and in my regular mixed media artwork. So it's really cool to be able to bring these techniques in and use them in the monsters. Now the interesting thing is that this plastic, this mesh, I've used it before, so it's got other colors on it. I'm not very good about washing things off, so it might pick up some other colors, which is, again, goes into that unpredictability that I really like. Okay. So I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to do something that like I've done before with the splattering, is just to take a clean wet brush and just paint over it, because some of that paint from the mesh hasn't quite dried yet. And so by painting over it, I can get it to streak. And what I find is that this kind of will knock back the color and the value. And what I mean by knocking it back is that it just isn't as intense. So it's not as dark, or it's not as bright. And it just allows me to kind of get a more even background, because I don't want it to be all one color and all one texture, but just to have a little bit more even value, and that helps out a lot, especially whenever I'm doing that black and that white on there. So all right, let's go ahead and dry that. So I'm really liking that. It's got a nice fall feel to it. That's one of the reasons I chose the colors. Um, all right, so a little bit curled, but that's all right. So I think I'm going to do like I did yesterday, do a horizontal monster, try to, kind of short and chubby kind of guy. And just trying to debate. I've been doing a lot of two-eyed monsters. I did one three-eyed monster, but I haven't done any one-eyed monsters. So I'm thinking, I think I want to have one really big eye. Okay. So nice big eye. Now I just try to think about the mouth. I like how he's off center. And then really thinking about like some kind of big or long horn. This side's easy because it just kind of goes off, but I really want this side. Really wanted to go out and off, help break up that space. I'm just thinking, I have all this space here. It might be interesting to kind of do something with his hand. Like, he's going to be waving. I don't know, I haven't tried that before, so let's go ahead and do something different. So down, bends up. I like to do kind of a club-like hand. And then have that finger go off the page. All right. I haven't tried something like that, so it's really interesting to try something new. I mean, typically when I do the monster selfies, I do them vertically. So doing these horizontally is definitely something new. So yeah, I'm liking that. So I think I want. Let's see. I'm trying to think which color do I want. The red. Do I want the orange? I'm thinking the red. I'm going to use this this warmer red, this like reddish, orangish red color to do the background. Yeah, just doing the monsters like this, I'm really trying to think about the negative space, how to divide up that rectangle with the monster, and drawing him nice and big, knowing that it's this notion of a selfie maybe, and but having him go out of the frame and then trying to break up that negative space. So in the ones where I'm doing the whole monster. It's like I don't really think about the negative space. It's more about the character. It's more about the monster. So this is just a little bit different. It allows me to think about the composition. Oops. And that's why I have a nice thick pen to use. And so I try to break up this negative space. So like on this particular guy, I've got 3 little spaces here, and I've got 3 bigger, actually 4 bigger spaces, counting that little triangle there. So there's like, the negative space has been broken up into smaller spaces. Just makes it more interesting. And by putting the monster off center, just allows me to kind of do a more asymmetrical balance. Being that I was a public school art teacher for 20 years and teaching students about composition and balance and filling up the space, it's just one of those things that I'm constantly thinking about. And I don't always follow the rules of composition. But I find it's a little bit more interesting visually if the center of interest, which is going to be the eye. So in this case, it's his one big eye. That's what we're going to be drawn to in this. And that's going to, that if that's right in the center, it's just a little bit visually boring. And that's why whenever I do the monsters and I draw the whole body and they're right in the center, it's like I like them, but I just find that visually they're a little bit static. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and that I do it all the time with the monsters, but if you're thinking about trying to have a more visually interesting image, you don't just slap the center of interest, your focal point, right in the center. And then by painting the negative space, I really accentuate it. But then it just brings contrast. So I've done these in the past where I don't do anything in the background, and I really rely on the black and the white to really create that contrast. But I think this just helps. It really bumps up the contrast between the background and the subject. But what I find really interesting is that you can see the texture still. Okay. Alright, so man, that red almost glows on the video. It's not quite that bright in real life. Okay. So I want this to be flatter whenever it's really hard if the paper's real curled to do the ink. So I'm going to do something before I do that. Let's go ahead. I've done this before, but if you turn it over, so the reason it curls is that as you dry it, with the hair dryer, it shrinks the paper fibers. So the fibers expand with the water; they soak up the water, and then when you dry them real quick, the fibers shrink. And so what happens is it's only really shrinking on this side of the paper, and it curls it. So if we do the opposite, if we come to the back and we paint it, so just plain water works. So what I'm going to do is kind of like reverse the process. Like, all right, I'll do it on the back, and then these fibers will shrink and it'll kind of even out a little bit. It never really goes completely flat, but as I sit and let it soak in, you can see it even curls more because now the back is expanding, all those little paper fibers. So just give it a couple moments to kind of soak in and then hit it with the dryer. Alright, so now he's kind of bent back the opposite way, so let's go ahead and hit the front. So not completely flat, but flatter than what he was. So, and then grab my handy dandy Pitt artist pen and got the nice thick one. So I've used ink on almost every single monster that I've done so far in this series. So if you've been tuning in, then you really know that I try to vary the thickness of the line so it's not just the same thickness. So really kind of maybe making the line near the lip thicker helps for it to stand out. Maybe making the lines thicker around the eye. And so those different thicknesses bring a lot of variety. So kind of going back to the ideas of composition. So the horns aren't as important. So, if they're a little bit thinner, that's okay. And you can kind of think of it that way, like if I want to show things as being important, like what are the most important things? What do I want to bring out? And of course, that's going to be the center of interest, the thing that I want to stand out the most, which is the eye. And so that's why I often do the thickest lines around the eyes. Or in this guy's case, the eye. Okay, so I got most of the thick stuff done. Switch back to the thinner one. Just really debating. Yesterday I did something different where I painted in the eye, but I've got oranges and reds, and then thinking about I usually do eyes green or blue or purple, and that might not show up too well. So just trying to think, like, do I want to put something different in it, or do I kind of feel like I do, but I want something, I've got brown. I never thought about that. So just a little bit of something, a little bit different. Again, if that's the only brown that's really going to make that eye pop out, let's go ahead and hit that little bit with the hairdryer. Okay. So now it's just a matter of filling in some of the details, and then even using this pen to do some of the lines. So I'll go around those lines here in a few minutes. So just really thinking about what kind of details I want to put in. I love doing the little stripes on this part of the horn, just kind of making it feel like there are ridges, that it's not a smooth part. And then let's do a few lines coming up around the horn. Not really stripes, but just a little something to indicate maybe the bottom of the horn is a little ridged or something. And then thinking about, like, the palm of my hand usually has some lines on it. I think he needs some stripes on his arm. Yeah, just trying to think about all the different little textures. But because there's a lot of textures and a lot of stuff going on in the background, I don't want to put in too much. Alright, so he's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and do the white, and then we'll see what else needs to be done. So the one interesting kind of thing with this color scheme is I didn't go super dark. It's a little bit easier to go darker with some of those other color schemes, like the blues and the purples. It's just, especially with the purple, that purple is really strong. But I think the orange contrasts the white well enough. So just want a little bit of white highlight on the horn. Just going to put in a line and then use some short little lines, very similar to the black ones underneath. That's looking pretty good. And then while I was doing the white, I was really thinking, like, I want to do something different with the spots. And I was thinking, well, maybe I can paint them in. But then I thought, well, what color? And so I think what I'm going to do, I was thinking red, but I was afraid it would just kind of tie into that. So I'm going to go into that. I really like that yellow-orange. And so what I'm thinking, I don't know if it's going to work, is that this will just sort of tint the spots, and it's not going to like radically change it, but it's going to give it just enough color just so that you could see, like, oh yeah, the spots are a different color than the rest of the body. Yeah, I definitely like the way he's turning out, and I do like the spots. So I think I'm gonna hit the spots with the hair dryer. That'll also dry the gel pen. And then just do a few little touch-ups. All right, well, oh, I almost forgot. I was like, oh, I'm done. But I forgot to sign it. All right, another guy done. Another monster done. So that's it for day number 10. So I'm really I'm really digging these monsters on the painted backgrounds, and just trying to find little ways every day to kind of do things a bit differently. I have a style of drawing monsters. I mean, you probably see a lot of similarities with the way I do the eyes and the mouth and the teeth and stuff. Even though they're all a little bit different, but yet trying to find just little ways to tweak it, things that things that will add some interest, and interest not just for the viewer but interest for myself, because I do think artists explore ideas, and they do similar things over and over again. They're always trying to like figure out like the best way of doing it, or the way that seems makes the most sense to themselves. And I think that's why artists do have a style, and they work at something, and they try it, and they try all these variations. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do more paintings like this. Maybe I will. I don't know. I do want to get into some other things as well, but I'm really enjoying this. So hope you enjoyed it, and really glad that you could tune in. And I'll be back tomorrow. It's going to be recorded just like today because of the weekend. And then I'll be back live on Monday. So don't forget, if you have been making monsters, I'd love to see them. I'd love to see what people are doing. So really, really would appreciate that. So anyway, thank you so much, and I'll see you around.